the thought that came into my head was, maybe one day Allah will allow me to go because I'm struggling, thinking I'm going to hell. What is the one way somebody can go straight to heaven in Islam?
Jihad. We wanted to talk to Sarah about how she became an apostate of Allah. Lots of people don't see it. They don't see if you're not paying attention online and so on, you don't know what's going on in the world. When you see, you're like, oh my goodness, Islam is taking over London and Birmingham. Islam is taking over. It's spreading so rapidly, and you don't see what's going on. How Islam's actually imploding in a lot of areas. And so anyway, we talked about a lot of stuff in that discussion on Pints with Aquinas, but he kind of zeroed in on, I think we were talking about it early on, about how the apostasy rates have been shooting up and so on. But I still saw comments like, really? Like, really? Is apostasy really becoming this huge thing? It's like, they're the ones who started sounding the alarm. It's the Muslims who started sounding the alarm going, we're in trouble because our apostasy rates are going through the roof. And if we do not do something right now, we are never going to recover from this. So they're the ones who started sounding the alarm about the apostasy rates spiraling out of control. Unless they're making it up, and the statistics show they're not making it up, Islam's got a rocky road ahead. All right, apostate of Allah.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Why don't you take us back to the early days of Islam?
I was raised in a Muslim household. All right. My father is Egyptian. Well, it wasn't until his mother came from Egypt and started going back and forth here did he become very
devout
Muslim. Yeah. And I personally, at this time, mind you, as a kid, I did not know Islam was the problem. I had a very strong belief that God existed, and I had an interest in Islam. So it's like I don't have the story where I was forced to read the Quran and I was forced to memorize surahs or I was forced to go to mosque and these things. I was the one that actually bothered my grandmother while I'm watching her. She's reading her Quran, and I will interrupt her and I'll ask her, I want to go memorize a surah today. This is what I want to do. And on Fridays when I was off from school, I would be the one telling my grandmother, I want to go, this Friday, I want to go to mosque today this Friday. So I would go to the mosque, and I wasn't really, even if I was to wear the hijab in the mosque, if I got hot because there was no air conditioning in the women's quarters, I was allowed to take it off because I was still young at that time. So I did these things, and this literally became my identity and who I was. And I was very close with my father's side of the family, especially my grandmother. But in all of this that's going on, there was things that I did not know that was actually, the problem was it being Islam itself. Like, for example, I wasn't allowed to ride a bike because it's haram for girls to ride bikes. For anybody that wants to know why, go Google it, all right? I'm a child. There was a fatwa that came out that girls can't ride bikes, and I didn't know yet. I just knew that it was haram. But I have brothers that they're going around riding bikes. But I wasn't allowed to ride bikes. I was told I couldn't wear jeans. It messes with how you look at the people of the opposite sex. Fast forward, I didn't yet connect that. Even fasting Ramadan, I'm the one I was in kindergarten at the time. I remember I was in the kitchen and I looked up at my dad and I was like, Baba, I want to fast Ramadan. And he looked at me like, you do? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, okay. I was a child, so I wasn't forced to do these things. My brothers, on the other hand, they were forced to do it. They didn't want to. I remember there was this one time when I was a small child. It was just like the first time I even thought about a different religion. It was during Easter. And I know it was Easter because you learn about it in school. Now, this is the time when I'm in school that even in New York City that you're able to talk about Easter and say these things. And I remember this one Sunday I was out and the world just felt different. It was Easter. And I see little kids, they're wearing their dresses and they're running around. And I remember me just thinking, man, I wish I was born in a Christian family. I fast forward now, I am 16 years old. My parents get divorced and my mom can't hold down a job. She doesn't keep paying the rent. We keep going, being thrown everywhere, moving from shelters and whatnot. And my father doesn't care. We already have an order of protection because my father was known for already in the past taking us and bringing us to Egypt without permission. So my mom already put an order of protection so that doesn't happen again. that happens, I try to go and live my own life. So I actually become stronger in my religion. All except for wearing the hijab. 2016, if you remember during this 2015, 2016 period, there was a whole ISIS situation that was happening, and
I've heard of such things, yes.
that kind of stuff had me like think, okay, this is like started putting in my head, if Islam is so peaceful, why is this stuff happening? But I didn't put much thought into it yet. One day I sit down and then all of a sudden, and mind, I go and I want to pray the Islamic prayers. This didn't just happen this time. This happened all the other times, but this time is kind of important. Whenever I prayed any of the Muslim prayers, David, like literally whenever I prayed any of the Islamic prayers, I would have to rush through it. Because whenever I would pray those Islamic prayers, I would feel like there would be a physical evil presence that would come and that was surrounding me, and that I would like, this thing is going to possess me.
That's weird, because that was Muhammad's first impression of his revelation. So,
Yeah. So I felt that, and every single time I would go and I would rush through my prayers. Now, you're not supposed to rush through your prayers, all right? That's forbidden. You have to take your time when you do your prayers. But you don't feel what I'm feeling. It feels physical. It's like, it's very physical. Muslims would be like, oh, Allah's testing you. I don't say this out loud. I keep it to myself. I'm like, this doesn't feel like it's testing. This feels evil. Why would Allah test me with something that feels so evil? I feel like I'm going to get possessed by some jinn in my prayers to Allah because He loves me. Just think how warped that is for a second. And how many Muslims believe that and stay in Islam. All of a sudden now, as I am having these thoughts, I feel a burden of sin. Every Muslim is told, if you believe in Allah on the last day, you're going to go to Jannah. You're going to go to heaven. I would believe in Allah on the last day. Allah loves me so much that I didn't even have to revert to Islam. He had me born a Muslim, right? I'm going straight to heaven. I wasn't worried about my eternal security until one day I was starting to be worried about my eternal security. And I felt like if I died right then and there, I was going to hell. Fast forward during this time, the thought that came into my head was, maybe one day Allah will allow me to go because I'm struggling, thinking I'm going to hell. What is the one way somebody can go straight to heaven in Islam?
Jihad.
Yeah. I'm thinking right now because just a little while later, the Lord saves me. That thought came into my mind, and it's just the only thing that didn't have me think about that thought was later on, this is a noble thought, and Allah will answer it if it's His will, but that's where you go. That's the one way that you can have all your sins forgiven and you go straight to heaven. Then I get a dream, and the dream is me literally, I'm in my house, and my kids and my mother are huddled by the wall, and then a jihadi is walking inside the house. They're scared. I'm not. I find myself going into the kitchen, getting a piece of bread and breaking it and giving it to the jihadi. And in that dream, I remember him looking at me confused and taking it. And then I wake up. I forget about that dream for a while. Fast forward, ISIS comes back on the TV. I turn off the TV and I say, you know what, God, I'm tired of this. If Islam is so peaceful, why is all this happening in your name? And then I said, but if Islam is so bad, like literally I'm thinking, I'm praying, I'm like, okay, Allah, if Islam is so bad, then why did you allow it to grow to be such a big religion? Problem of evil question. That's what happened. And I remember I had my phone, I threw it on the sofa. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm a Hindu now. I'm a Buddhist. Then I look out the window. I see the sky and I was like, this is ridiculous. God exists. I guess I'm a Muslim again. Then one day, out of nowhere, a thought came into my brain. The thought that came into my head was because I was thinking about religion during this period of time, and when my father taught me about Islam and why that's true, how that's the seal of the prophets. And I was looking up, I was like, hey, what's the difference between Jesus and Islam and Jesus and Christianity? And I don't know how to explain this. This is all God by the Holy Spirit, like trying to work things out with me. And I'm an inquisitive kind of person. I'm not somebody that just believes stuff just to believe stuff. You have Jesus in Islam is he's gonna come and break the cross and kill all the pigs, right? And I'm like, yes, I'm familiar with this. This is what Jesus is going to do. Jesus says that he's going to come back and redeem his church. This one says Jesus is a Muslim. This one says Jesus is a Jew. And then logic ended up hitting me. Judaism came before Christianity. And before Islam. And I'm comparing the two different Jesus. One seems very peaceful. One is healing. One died for sins. One is coming to destroy stuff and didn't die. Somehow, the substitution thing always bothered me. It didn't make any sense to me, like in a justice standpoint. Point, even though that's what I was taught.
For anyone who's like completely new here, most Muslims down through history and most Muslim commentators have interpreted Surah 4 verse 157 of the Quran as saying that Allah miraculously disguised someone else and made this other person die in Jesus' place. And one of the most common things you'll hear is that it was Judas, and you have lots of Muslims thinking that this is a more just position because Allah rescued Jesus and then a guilty person or some other person was crucified in his place. But it's interesting because it's like a complete reversal. It's a reversal of the gospel. Instead of the innocent Jesus dying on behalf of sinners, it's a sinner dying on behalf of innocent Jesus. What I always thought weird was who's responsible for Christian belief that Jesus died on the cross? Well, I mean, it's Allah. Allah's the one who made everyone think that Jesus died. And so you have billions of people in the world today, not just Christians, but everyone except Muslims, who they all believe that Jesus died on the cross by crucifixion. Historians consider it one of the best established facts of the ancient world because there's so many sources on it, so on. And then it's like, who's responsible for deceiving these billions of people? Allah.
What actually finally had me decide I'm like, you know what, I'm a Christian now, was where Jesus said he calls himself the King of Kings. And then the hadith that says that the man that Allah hates the most is the man that calls himself, that. So I was like, and then for some strange reason, except for like God, I throw my phone and I'm like, I have no idea what Christianity teaches. Like, I just know Jesus died for my sins. I'll figure out everything else now. I went to bed that night a Christian.